better be buying the dip, my friends, because what's coming is absolutely insane. Max Kaiser's World War Bitcoin prediction is coming to fruition, and the winner of this war could be determined in the next 200 days? Holy shit! Is Bitcoin actually entering a super cycle? Well, Bitcoin did just complete its greatest month of all time. Think about this. How many years did it take for Bitcoin to eclipse 20K? Well, it just rose 26,000 in a month, and we ain't seen nothing yet. Strap in, because nation-state Bitcoin FOMO is intensifying, and everyone is underestimating what's coming. I'm Rustin, head of news at Simply Bitcoin, and I know what you're asking. Is this the cycle Bitcoin reaches 500K, 800K, or even $1 million? You want the truth?
You can't handle the truth!
The truth is, things have gotten more bullish than we could have ever imagined. We got a ton of news to get to. Send it! Why don't we go ahead and get started right here? In case you missed it, Michael Saylor just presented to Microsoft, and they gave the dude 3 minutes. But, that may have been too much time. That's like leaving a minute on the clock for John Elway. Just picture this. Saylor walks in. Good morning, I'm here today to tell you how my company is now worth $40 billion in 4 years. Yes, sir, please stand in line. You got 3 minutes. Want to know how it played out? Well, here it is. Roll it.
Microsoft can't afford to miss the next technology wave, and Bitcoin is that wave. Bitcoin represents the greatest digital transformation of the 21st century. It represents digital capital. The global wealth is distributed across assets that provide utility and others that preserve capital. But risk is destroying trillions of dollars of that capital every single year, and investors are turning to digital capital in the form of Bitcoin in order to avoid that risk. Digital capital is economically and technically superior to physical capital, and it represents a revolutionary advance in capital preservation. The asset class itself is growing from trillions to hundreds of trillions of dollars, and it is backed by digital power, along with political and economic power. It makes sense for Microsoft to be powered by digital capital. Bitcoin's the best asset you can own. The numbers speak for themselves. It makes a lot more sense to buy Bitcoin than to buy your own stock back, or to hold Bitcoin rather than holding bonds. If you're going to outperform, you're going to need Bitcoin. And those bonds are undermining your options market and your equity liquidity. Luckily, you have an alternative. Public support for Bitcoin is surging, as is political support, as is support for the U.S. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, as is Wall Street support. And the President of the United States says,
never sell your Bitcoin.
That's why we're entering year one of the crypto renaissance. And you have a choice to make. Cling to the past or embrace the future. Divest billions of dollars and slow your growth rate. Invest billions of dollars and accelerate your growth rate. You've surrendered hundreds of billions of dollars of capital over the past 5 years, and you've just amplified the risks that your own shareholders face. If you want to escape that vicious cycle, you're going to need an asset without counterparty risk. What if you could buy a $100 billion company growing faster than Microsoft for 1 times revenue? What if you could keep doing it every single year? It's time for Microsoft to evaluate its Bitcoin strategic options. We've created an open source model. You can plug in your own assumptions. You can convert your cash flows and your dividends and your buybacks and your debt into Bitcoin. If you do that, you'll add hundreds of dollars to the stock price. You can create trillions of dollars of enterprise value. You can strip away risk from your shareholders, and you can prosper on the Bitcoin standard. So do the right thing for the world and adopt Bitcoin.
Absolute legend. The dude went through like 40 slides in 3 minutes, and again, it's Monday. And yes, Giga Chad did it again. MicroStrategy acquires another 15,400 Bitcoin for $1.5 billion, now holding a total of 402,100 BTC. We told you he's not stopping. If it wasn't obvious before, well, Michael Saylor is carrying out a sly roundabout speculative attack on the fiat system. I mean, if Michael Saylor at this point is just stacking harder than everyone, and FOMO's just going to intensify. He's basically buying up the 100K sell wall all by himself. You don't want to be like that one Jason guy who says like Bitcoin's dead or something, but here's a little lesson for Jason and, well, the people who save in fiat. whatever they do.
We call them poor.
If you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin every time the media called it dead, you'd have $99,952,524.62. You take the orange pill now or the Bitcoin suppository later. Taking Bitcoin seriously doesn't mean you have to become an evangelist. It means paying attention to the global shifts. Why are central banks hoarding gold like never before? Why are smaller nations now mining and investing in Bitcoin? How are geopolitical and economic policies changing right before our eyes? If you're still dismissing Bitcoin as a fad in 2024, you're not engaging in the world around you. You're not doing the work to understand how deeply Bitcoin is influencing global finance and technology. So here's the real challenge. Whether you're in media, finance, or tech, take the time to really look into Bitcoin. It might not be for you, but it's far too significant to ignore. For those not paying attention, Bitcoin just closed its biggest month ever. Look at that giant green candle. It's glorious, but it's only the beginning. Don't believe me? Well, you don't want to end up like this guy. Shout out to Riggs, by the way. Look at what that guy said. And the response here was savage. In the following 10 weeks, Bitcoin gained over $30,000 per coin. You got destroyed. Wake up. All right, now let's get to business here. In case you're new, welcome to the global hash war. The prophecy is being fulfilled. What is this global hash war we're speaking of? Well, why don't we let the guy who trademarked it break it down for you? Roll it.
The analogy that I like is Bitcoin as gunpowder. If one country adopts gunpowder, then you really have to adopt gunpowder as well to get into this paradigm of mutual assured destruction or survival. And now we're entering into the global hash war or the global Bitcoin war, which I wrote about 5 years ago. When everyone was saying that, oh, all these countries are going to ban Bitcoin, I said, no, in fact, it's the opposite. They're all going to embrace Bitcoin. They're going to competitively mine Bitcoin and hoard Bitcoin because it becomes a new global Bitcoin standard. And we'll see every fiat money go to its long-term value of zero. It's demonetizing gold. You see that in the ETF market. People are dumping gold ETFs and buying Bitcoin ETFs. It's demonetizing the stock market. It's demonetizing the bond market. It's demonetizing the property market. It's demonetizing the fine art market. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. So anything you hold as an asset, it's the purchasing power relative to Bitcoin is going to go down. So this is the realization that's creeping into the minds of folks who have been observing Bitcoin for a while. The political class is really interesting to see so many politicians up here talking about Bitcoin. They have the talking points and they sound good. I don't think they've given it a deep thought yet because it disintermediates politicians. Because not only will the central banks be disintermediated by Bitcoin, but so will the nation state as we know it. So the nation state will dissolve, as well as the central banks.
Why don't we go ahead and look at some recent events telling us we're not bullish enough? The currency wars are here. Look at this. Trump threatens countries trying to move away from the US dollar, and he threatens them with 100% tariffs. He said there is no chance that the BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. Things are getting really interesting out here. People are looking for alternatives. There's one staring them in the face, but once this move is made, there is no going back. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. But really, if we look at this, what Trump is doing, this is exactly the threats and things that made the US dollar to other people a risky proposition. Why does one country need another country's permission to use their money however the fuck they want? And is there a grander game being played here? Because there is some interesting things if we look at it. Maybe Orange Man and the Putin have been thinking about Bitcoin all along, and this is a way to phase it in. But that's getting way out there. What we need to look at is the conversation that is taking place. Mark Andreessen went on the Joe Rogan Experience, and well, it was about a 3-hour advertisement as to why we need Bitcoin more than ever. From talking about people getting debanked, including Melania and Barron Trump, the NGOs, the dirty work that takes place there, but definitely an eye-opening moment for a lot of people. It's like when Sailor said, you know, everyone has a need to know. Russia had a need to know when they got kicked off SWIFT. Trump's family, they've been attacked by the deep state, etc. And a lot of people are seeing this and hearing these things for the first time. Remember, all roads lead to Bitcoin. And it's like from the individual to the nation state level, the amount of advertisements are crazy. But the amount of time we have to acquire Bitcoin may be running out. Check this out. GigaChat has bought 106,000 Bitcoin in just the past 10 days. And guess what? We now have a record low in Bitcoin available on exchanges. There are 2 million Bitcoin left on exchanges. At this pace, in just 200 days, GigaChat alone could drain the exchanges. This is why we got to be asking ourselves, is this it? Are we entering or living in the super cycle? Well, we have evidence that says this time is different. Now, how different? Well, get ready to have your face melted. But before we bring it home, look at our likes.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Enjoying the show so far? Don't forget to like, subscribe, set those notifications for the best in Bitcoin delivered to you daily. Give us a pamp! While we take a moment to recognize our sponsors, the masters of Bitcoin self-sovereignty, the Bitcoin way. Guys, being that we live in clown world, it's pretty easy to understand the why Bitcoin, but over at the Bitcoin way, that's where you're going to learn how to Bitcoin. Check out their newly revamped website. If you're looking to become a master of Bitcoin self-custody, no one makes it easier. From setting up your first wallet node to inheritance planning to everything Bitcoin sovereignty, they got you covered. Hey, and if you're looking to get started, you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the Bitcoin way using that link in the show notes. All right, buckle up, folks, because Bitcoin isn't just entering a super cycle. It's rewriting the entire playbook. Forget the boring old bull and bear cycles. Those are for boomers still clutching their gold coins. We're talking Bitcoin blowing past 500K, 800K, a million, maybe even 10 million. Yeah, that's right, 10 million cuck bucks. Sounds crazy, but let me break it down for you. 2021, absolute chaos. 2 pumps derailed by a China mining ban, the FTX collapse, and a financial system on life support. And now BlackRock, Fidelity, and all the big boys, they're here. They're not just dipping their toe in, they are cannonballing into the Bitcoin pool. Why? Because Bitcoin's gold 2.0. And the narrative, well, it's sticking. Institutions controlling $100 trillion in capital are saying, you know what? Maybe digital uncensorable sound money is a good idea after all. Let me ask you this. When did you first hear about Bitcoin? Was it 2013, 2017, 2021? It doesn't matter. Whenever it was, you probably caught wind during one of those wild price swings. But what no one told you is this. Bitcoin has a secret weapon. It also in itself is a secret weapon or a defensive maneuver, if you will. But more on that in a moment. It's called the halving. Every 4 years, the supply gets cut in half. Econ 101, less supply plus higher demand equals price explosion. Satoshi Nakamoto himself predicted this feedback loop. He literally wrote, quote, as users increase, the value increases, which attracts more users. 2021 was an anomaly to the downside. Could 2025 be the anomaly to the upside? Well, think about this. BlackRock and the Bitcoin ETFs are here. Banks are offering Bitcoin custody. Countries and even the US president and his cabinet are adopting Bitcoin. This isn't some nerdy internet experiment anymore. It's a full-on global financial revolution. And let's not forget Bitcoin's greatest test. It was born in the ashes of the 2008 financial crisis. And we know what happened just a few years ago. Well, governments printed over $15 trillion during the what have you. You know, that time when the world went full regard. You don't go full regard. And now fiat is bleeding out while Bitcoin is thriving as the ultimate antidote. And now the big dogs have arrived. BlackRock, Fidelity, they control $100 trillion and they've realized Bitcoin isn't just digital gold, it's better, scarcer, portable, divisible. And oh yeah, it actually works in a crisis. So what happens when just 1% of that institutional money flows into Bitcoin? Spoiler, it's not 97K to 130K. That becomes totally irrelevant. We're talking 500K, a million, maybe even 2 million cuckbucks. We're not just witnessing a typical Bitcoin cycle. We're living in a super cycle, the final boss level, the moment the world wakes up to what Bitcoin really is. And as Michael Saylor would say, Bitcoin is a credit default swap on $100 trillion of 20th century assets. So the question isn't if Bitcoin hits 10 million, it's just how soon. Will you be stacking sats or will you be looking back wishing you hadn't ignored the biggest wealth transfer in history? Tell him, crazy boomer guy.
What did you do to take advantage of the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of the planet? What did you do? Not a fucking thing.
What if you only had 8 seconds before the train left the station? Better send that shit. We got a lot going on. Putin signs bill recognizing Bitcoin as property in Russia, and we know they've been just laying these little breadcrumbs. And more examples of nation-state FOMO intensifying. Morocco legalizes after 7-year ban. China declares Bitcoin as property, and Brazil has introduced the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve bill. Now here's what Fred Krueger thinks. He thinks 100 to 200K could happen in the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Regardless, anyone who thought they were going to stop Bitcoin, well, Preston Pish has a message for you. Roll it!
It's the equivalent of trying to stop night from coming outside. Anybody fighting Bitcoin is there like trying to prevent the sunset from happening. I am a champion of let's harness the incoming technology as opposed to acting through fear and being scared of it. The one thing I did learn at West Point was never, ever accept defeat. Never, ever allow your environment to dictate that you're going to fail, right? And so many of these actions that are being made by these legacy string pullers, they are actions of fear. They are scared to death of this thing, as opposed to just looking at it and saying, hold on a second, there's a massive opportunity here if we decide to harness it. It's hilarious. It's so pathetic. Like, don't be a victim of your environment. Harness your environment. Right? Win.
Hey, if the global hash war is here, we better move fast because it looks like they're plotting something. What the hell's going on with that pigeon? Hey, time to strap in because this time next year, it's probably going to be undeniable that the USA, China, and Russia are in a full-blown race for Bitcoin dominance. Hey, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And do not forget to get your tickets now to Bitcoin Alaska. We have 213 days left. Gonna be tons of fun. Taking place in Juneau, Alaska, July 3rd through the 5th. And one thing about this conference, this is a whale pass unlike anything you've ever seen. Make sure to check that out. Gonna be absolutely insane. Be sure to head over to bitcoinalaska.org. Check that out. Cannot wait for that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, set those notifications, give us a pamp, spread that sound money gospel, and stay tuned because we got a lot more coming your way this week. You want to keep this bullish party going? Might want to click here. If you ain't bullish, you're foolish. I'll catch you all next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.